A black woman sits alone in a diner, ordered to leave by a hostile waitress who calls the police. But when the police chief arrives, the tables turn in a shocking twist, because the customer isn't just anyone. She's someone the waitress should never have crossed. The diner smelled like burnt coffee and old grease. Amara Bennett sat at the counter, her tailored navy blazer stark against the faded red vinyl. Noonlight cut through the windows, turning dust motes into tiny stars. She'd ordered nothing yet, just sat waiting. The waitress stood 10 feet away, arms crossed. Her name tag read Carol in crooked letters. She whispered something to another server, a younger woman who glanced at Amara, then looked away fast. Amara kept her hands folded on the counter, patient still. Carol moved closer, her shoes squeaking on linoleum. She didn't bring a menu, didn't bring water, just stood there, jaw tight, eyes hard. "Can I get some water, please?" Amara's voice was calm, professional. Carol didn't move, didn't acknowledge the request. The diner went quieter. 3 customers at different tables, all watching now. Amara waited 5 seconds, 10, 20. Then Carol walked to the wall phone near the kitchen, picked up the receiver, dialed, never breaking eye contact with Amara. "Yes, I need police." Her voice carried across the diner. "I've got someone here who won't leave." Amara didn't flinch, didn't stand, didn't even blink. She just sat there, hands still folded, while Carol held the phone and stared back with something that looked like victory. The clock on the wall ticked. The coffee maker hissed. Someone coughed, and in the distance sirens began to wail. Dr. Amara Bennett wasn't supposed to be here. Not today. Not in Millbrook, Georgia. Population 4,200, 2 stoplights, 1 diner that time forgot. She'd driven 3 hours from Atlanta for one reason, to visit her father's grave. Samuel Bennett had been dead 11 years now, but she came back every year on his birthday. Brought flowers, sat in the grass, told him about her cases. This year she'd arrived early. Too early for the cemetery, so she'd driven through town, past the courthouse, past the hardware store, past the Baptist church with its peeling white paint. And then she'd seen it. Carol's Diner. The hand-painted sign hadn't changed in 30 years. Her father used to talk about this place, how he'd loved their pecan pie, how they'd served him exactly once in 1985, before the owner's son told him not to come back. Her father had laughed when he told that story, but Amara remembered the way his eyes had gone distant. She'd parked, walked in, told herself it was just coffee, but the moment she sat down she knew. The way Carol looked at her, the way the other customers shifted in their seats, the way silence spread like spilled water. Amara had been a civil rights attorney for 15 years. Before that, a prosecutor. Before that, the daughter of a sharecropper who taught her that dignity wasn't optional. She recognized this feeling, the weight of unwanted presence. The electricity before lightning. She'd felt it 100 times. In courtrooms, police stations, government offices. She knew what was coming before Carol picked up the phone. Carol hung up and walked back, each step deliberate. She stopped 3 feet from Amara, close enough to intimidate, far enough to claim safety. "We reserve the right to refuse service." Her voice was flat, rehearsed. Amara turned slightly on her stool. "Why?" "Don't need a reason. Actually, you do." Amara kept her tone even. No anger, no pleading, just fact. Carol's jaw tightened. "So people always think you're entitled to something." The diner went completely silent. Even the kitchen sound stopped. Amara felt the familiar burn in her chest. Not fear, not even surprise. Just the old tired rage that came from hearing the same script in 1,000 different voices. "I'd like to speak to the manager, please." Carol's smile was thin and cold. "You're looking at her." The younger server, maybe 19, blonde ponytail, backed toward the kitchen, eyes wide. An older white man at a corner booth shifted uncomfortably. His wife kept eating, didn't look up. Another customer, middle-aged with a trucker cap, smirked into his coffee. Amara's phone buzzed in her purse. She ignored it. "Then I'd like to know what policy I violated by sitting here." the policy of common sense. Carol leaned closer. I know your type. You'll order, complain the food's cold, then scream discrimination when I charge you. Not today. Amara didn't move. Her hands stayed flat on the counter, visible, non-threatening. Years of training, years of survival. I haven't ordered anything yet, and you won't. The sirens were louder now, close. Carol stepped back, crossed her arms again. You should leave before this gets worse. Amara met her eyes. I haven't done anything wrong. That's not how I see it. The door swung open. 2 police officers walked in, one young, maybe 25, with nervous energy. One older, 40-something, with tired eyes and a weathered face. Carol pointed at Amara. That's her. Amara's heartbeat slowed, a trick she'd learned years ago. Breathe deep. Count to 4, hold, release. She'd been here before. Different town, different accusation. Same script. The officers stood by the door. The older one, his name tag read Jenkins, looked at Amara, then at Carol, then back at Amara. Something flickered in his expression. Recognition, doubt. The younger officer stepped forward, hand resting on his belt. Ma'am, what seems to be the problem? Amara didn't turn. Didn't react. Just kept her hands visible, her posture relaxed. There's no problem, officer. I came in, sat down, and was told to leave before I could order. Carol jumped in. She's been here 20 minutes, causing a disturbance. I've been here 8 minutes. I haven't raised my voice. Haven't moved from this seat. Jenkins studied her face. His eyes narrowed slightly. Amara saw the moment it clicked. She saw him remember, but he said nothing. The younger officer looked confused. So you refused to leave when asked? I asked why I was being refused service. That's not a disturbance. Carol's voice rose. She's one of those people, always looking for a lawsuit, always playing the victim. Carol, Jenkins' voice cut through. Quiet but firm. That's enough, Carol blinked. What? I said enough. The diner was a held breath. Amara sat perfectly still. She'd learned long ago not to celebrate too early. Momentum could shift in a heartbeat. In the corner, the old jukebox sat silent. Her father used to feed it quarters, play Otis Redding while he ate. She could almost hear his voice. Don't let them see you sweat, baby girl. Don't give them that. She didn't. 30 years ago, her father had stood in this exact spot. Not at the counter. He'd never made it that far. Amara had been 7. They'd driven up from Alabama to visit her grandmother. Samuel Bennett had been hungry, seen the diner, pulled over. Amara remembered holding his hand as they walked to the door. Remembered the bell jingling. Remembered the way every head turned. The owner, Carol's father probably, had stepped out from behind the counter. Didn't say a word, just shook his head. Her father had nodded. Turned around. Led Amara back to the car. She'd asked why they left. He'd said, not our place, sweetheart. But that night, while her grandmother slept, he'd sat Amara down, told her the truth, told her about separate water fountains, told her about the back entrances he'd used as a boy, told her about the 1,000 tiny humiliations that made up a life. Then he'd said, but you're going to change this. You're going to have the power I never had. She'd gone to Howard University, then Yale Law, graduated top of her class. She'd prosecuted hate crimes in Mississippi, defended wrongly accused teenagers in Louisiana, sued discriminatory police departments in Alabama, and 3 months ago she'd been assigned to investigate Millbrook's police department. Anonymous complaints, patterns of excessive force, dismissed reports from black residents. She'd planned to start the investigation next week, but here she was, on her father's birthday, in his favorite diner. The universe had a twisted sense of timing. While Jenkins spoke quietly to Carol near the door, Amara let her eyes wander the walls. Photos everywhere. Local history. Millbrook High School football teams. The mayor cutting ribbons. The diner's grand opening in 1967, and then she saw it middle row. Third frame from the left. A faded color photo circa 1987. a black man being escorted out by 2 police officers. The man's face was calm, resigned. His hands were raised, non-threatening. Behind him a crowd of white customers watched. Amara's breath caught. That was her father. She recognized the green jacket. The way he held his shoulders. Carol's father stood in the background, arms crossed, satisfied. Her father had never told her they called the police. He'd just said they weren't welcome. She felt something crack inside her chest. Not anger. Something deeper, older. Carol was still arguing with Jenkins. The younger officer looked uncomfortable. Amara pulled out her phone, opened her work email, found the file she'd been reviewing last week. Millbrook PD, Federal Civil Rights Investigation, Case Duggar 2024 CR 1847. She'd been collecting complaints for months. 16 formal reports, dozens of informal ones, all dismissed by the previous police chief, and this diner appeared in 4 of them. Same story every time. Black customer refused service. Police called. Customer arrested for trespassing or disturbing the peace. All charges dropped eventually. But the message sent, the fear planted. The door opened again. Amara looked up. Police Chief Raymond Caldwell walked in. Tall, grey-haired, pressed uniform. He carried himself like a man who'd never been questioned. Carol's face flooded with relief. "Chief, thank God." Caldwell raised one hand. Silence dropped like a curtain. He looked at Amara, really looked. His expression didn't change, but something shifted behind his eyes. Then he turned to Carol. "Step outside." Carol blinked. "What?" Now his voice was ice water, no anger, just absolute authority. Carol opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Jenkins for support, found none. She walked to the door, head high, trying to maintain dignity. Caldwell followed. Jenkins trailed behind. The younger officer stood frozen near the entrance, hand still on his belt, eyes darting between Amara and the door. Through the window, Amara watched Caldwell pull something from his pocket. Handcuffs. They caught the sunlight, gleaming silver. Carol's voice rose, muffled through glass, angry, then confused, then breaking. Amara sat at the counter, coffee still untouched. Her father's photo watched from the wall. And outside, Carol's hands were pulled behind her back while she screamed about rights and lawyers and mistakes. The younger officer finally spoke. "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I didn't..." Amara didn't look at him. "You didn't know. Now you do." The young officer shifted his weight. "Should I..." "Do you need anything, ma'am?" Amara finally turned to look at him. His name tag read Morrison. Fresh academy graduate, probably. "Maybe 6 months on the job. I'd like water, please." Morrison blinked. I'm not... The kitchen's open. Glasses are behind the counter." He hesitated, then walked behind the counter, found a glass, filled it from the tap, set it in front of her with shaking hands. "Thank you, Officer Morrison." He nodded, started to speak, stopped. The other customers hadn't moved. The old man in the corner booth finally stood, threw cash on his table, and left without looking at anyone. His wife followed, purse clutched tight. The trucker in the cap stayed. He watched Amara with narrowed eyes, jaw working like he was chewing words he couldn't spit out. Outside, Carol's voice had gone quiet. Amara could see Caldwell talking, his face close to Carol's. Jenkins stood nearby, radio in hand. Morrison cleared his throat. "Dr. Bennett, She looked up sharply. "You know who I am?" Jenkins told me. "Just now, on the radio." He swallowed hard. "Higher DOJ, Civil Rights Division." "I am. You're investigating us, I am." Silence stretched between them. Morrison's hand dropped from his belt. He suddenly looked very young. Is this part of it?" Amara sipped her water. "Do you think it should be?" "I don't know, I responded to a call. Trespassing complaint." His voice cracked slightly. "I didn't know it was..." "Discrimination." Amara set down the glass. "Now you do. What will you do differently next time?" Morrison opened his mouth, closed it. Looked at the floor, the door opened. Caldwell walked back in alone. Caldwell removed his hat. His grey hair was cut military short. His face was unreadable. Not angry, not apologetic, just controlled. He walked to the counter, pulled out the stool next to Amara, sat down without asking permission. Morrison straightened. "Chief, Wait outside, Morrison." "Yes, sir." The young officer practically ran for the door. The trucker was still watching. Caldwell turned his head slowly. "You got somewhere to be, Dale." Dale threw a 5 on the counter and left. Now it was just Amara and Caldwell in the diner. The younger server had disappeared into the kitchen. Caldwell set his hat on the counter. "Dr. Bennett, Chief Caldwell, you want to tell me what happened here?" Amara's eyebrow lifted. "I walked in, sat down. Was refused service based on my race. Your employee called 911. Then you arrested her." "Carol's not my employee." "No, but you enforce the law." "That's notable." Caldwell's jaw tightened. "I got a letter from your office 2 weeks ago. Notice of federal investigation." "You did." "Said I had until next Monday to respond with departmental records." "That's correct. And here you are. 5 days early. In the one business in town with the most complaints." Amara turned on her stool to face him fully. "I'm here because my father is buried here. Today is his birthday. I came for him, not for you." Something flickered across Caldwell's face. "Samuel Bennett." She went very still. "You knew my father?" "Knew of him. I was a rookie in '87. I was here that day." He gestured to the photo on the wall. "That's me. Right side. Uniform too big." Amara looked at the photo again. There, a young officer, maybe 22, standing behind her father. "Face uncertain, you escorted him out." "I did what I was told." Caldwell's voice was flat. "My chief said move him along." "So I did. Did you ask why?" "I was 22 years old and 3 weeks out of training." "That's not an answer." Caldwell met her eyes. "No, I didn't ask why." The air between them vibrated with unspoken weight. Outside, an ambulance rolled past. Someone's emergency. Someone's crisis. Caldwell broke the silence first. "Carol's going to jail. I'm charging her with filing a false police report and discrimination under state law." "Good. It won't stick." "Her lawyer will get it down to a fine." "Then I'll file federal charges." Caldwell nodded slowly. "I figured you would." He stood, put his hat back on. "My department isn't what it was. Dr. Bennett, I've been trying to change things since I became chief 3 years ago." "Trying isn't enough." "No." He looked at the photo of her father one more time. "I suppose it's not." He walked toward the door, paused with his hand on the frame. "For what it's worth. Your father was a good man. I've thought about that day more times than I can count. And I should have asked why. Then he was gone." Amara sat alone in the diner. Her water was still half full. Her coffee still untouched and cold. Her phone buzzed. She ignored it. She looked at her father's photo, his calm face, his raised hands, his dignity wrapped tight like armor. She wondered if he'd ever forgiven this town. She wondered if she would. 10 minutes passed. 15. No one came to take her order. The younger server stayed hidden in the kitchen. The cook, if there was one, never appeared. Amara sat in the silence. The clock ticked. The fluorescent lights hummed. The coffee maker gurgled, brewing a pot no one would drink. Outside, Carol was gone. Caldwell's cruiser pulled away. Morrison's car followed. The street returned to normal. A woman walked by with groceries. A dog barked somewhere. Life continued like nothing had happened, but everything had happened. Amara's phone buzzed again. This time she looked. Her assistant, Marcus Judge, moved the Memphis hearing to Monday. "Need you back by Sunday." Another text from her mentor, saw the news alert. "Millbrook PD arrested business owner." "That you?" She didn't respond to either. Instead, she stood. Walked to the photo of her father. Studied every detail, the green jacket, the resigned expression, the way his hands were raised, not in surrender but in patient defiance. He'd taught her that. How to stand without fighting. How to resist without violence. How to win by simply refusing to disappear. She touched the glass frame. Her reflection overlapped with his image. Same cheekbones, same eyes. Same unbreakable quiet. "I did it, Daddy," she whispered. "Not the way you would have, but I did it." The jukebox in the corner was still silent, but in her mind Otis Redding played, her father's favorite song. Try a little tenderness. She'd never understood that choice. Why that song? Why tenderness in a world so hard? Now standing here, she thought maybe she did. Tenderness wasn't weakness. It was the refusal to let bitterness win. She walked back to the counter, left a $20 bill next to her untouched coffee. Payment for service never rendered. Tip included. Then she walked out into the sunlight. Amara sat in her car for a long moment. Engine off, windows down. The late afternoon heat pressed against her skin. Her phone rang. Not a text this time. Actual call, she answered. "Bennett. Dr. Bennett, this is Chief Caldwell," she waited. "I'd like to invite you to the station officially to review the files you requested. Your deadline is Monday, I know. But I'm guessing you're already here, so—" He trailed off. Might as well get it over with. Amara checked her watch, 3:30. She could be at the cemetery before it closed. Talk to her father, leave flowers, or she could go to the station. Start the work she came to do. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. I'll have everything ready." He hung up. Amara started the car. Drove 3 blocks to Millbrook Police Department, a squat brick building with an American flag out front and a parking lot full of cruisers. Caldwell met her at the door. No pleasantries. Just led her to a conference room where 4 cardboard boxes sat on a table, 3 years of complaints. "Every one we've received." Amara opened the first box. Manila folders. Incident reports. Witness statements. She pulled one at random. Complaint number 2022-417. Jerome Washington, age 34, stopped for suspicious activity outside the post office. Officer claimed he matched description of robbery suspect. No robbery had been reported. She pulled another. Complaint 2023-08222. Keisha Thomas, age 19, pulled over for broken taillight. Searched without consent. No contraband found. Taillight was functional. And another. Complaint 2024-0105. Marcus Reed, age 56, removed from town council meeting for disruptive behavior. Video footage shows him sitting silently. Caldwell stood in the doorway. The previous chief closed all of them. Insufficient evidence. Officer discretion. Standard procedure. Your predecessor, Chief Martin. He retired last year. Conveniently. He knew you were coming. DOJ sent preliminary inquiries. He left before you could question him. Amara looked up. Did you try to stop him? From retiring. On what grounds? On the grounds that he was destroying evidence of systematic civil rights violations. Caldwell's face hardened. I kept every file. Everything he wanted to shred I saved. Why? Because I was there in '87. I escorted your father out of that diner. I did what I was told. He stepped into the room. I won't do that again. Amara studied him, looking for the lie. The performance, she found only exhaustion and something that looked like shame. I'll need to interview every officer named in these. Complaints. Done. I'll schedule them. I'll need access to internal affairs records. You'll have them tomorrow. I'll need whatever you need. Dr. Bennett, you'll get it. Caldwell pulled out a chair, sat down heavily. I've been chief for 3 years. I've fired 6 officers, disciplined 12 more. I've rewritten use of force policies. Started bias training. Hired 2 black officers. First this town has ever had. That's a start, but it's not enough. I know. He rubbed his face. Martin had 40 years to build this department his way. So I've had 3 to fix it. The law doesn't care about your timeline. No, it doesn't. He met her eyes. But I do. I care that your father was thrown out of a diner for wanting pie. I care that kids like Jerome Washington get stopped for existing. I care that I spent 20 years as a good soldier in a bad system. Amara sat down across from him. Then help me dismantle it. I am. Not just files. Not just interviews. She leaned forward. I need you to testify. On record about Martin, about the culture he created, about every complaint he buried. Caldwell's face went pale. You're asking me to destroy my mentor. I'm asking you to tell the truth. Silence fell between them like a blade. Outside, the sun was lowering. Golden light slanted through the conference room window. Caldwell looked at the boxes of files, then at Amara, then at his hands. Okay, he said quietly. I'll testify. 6 weeks later, the federal hearing took place not in Millbrook but in Atlanta, neutral ground. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, civil rights advocates, Millbrook residents both supportive and hostile. Amara sat at the plaintiff's table in a charcoal suit, files arranged precisely in front of her. Across the aisle, Millbrook's city attorney looked uncomfortable. Chief Martin sat next to him, older, gray-bearded, radiating entitled anger. Judge Patricia Howard, a black woman in her 60s, presided with quiet authority. Dr. Bennett, call your first witness. The United States calls Chief Raymond Caldwell. Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Carol, sitting in the back row with her lawyer, went rigid. Caldwell walked to the stand, raised his right hand. Swore to tell the truth. Amara stood. Chief Caldwell, how long have you served with Millbrook Police Department? 28 years. And how many of those years were under Chief Martin's leadership? 25. During that time, how many complaints did the department receive regarding racial discrimination? 53 that I'm aware of. How many resulted in disciplinary action? None. The gallery erupted. Judge Howard banged her gavel. Order, Amara continued. Can you explain why none of these complaints were substantiated? Caldwell's jaw tightened. Chief Martin had a policy. He called it community discretion. If a business owner called in a complaint, the officer was instructed to remove the individual without questioning the owner's motives, even if the complaint appeared racially motivated? Especially then. Martin said we weren't social workers. We were peacekeepers. And you followed these orders? Long pause. Yes, ma'am. I did. Including on September 12, 1987, when you removed Samuel Bennett from Carol's diner. Caldwell looked directly at Amara. Yes, I removed Dr. Bennett's father from that diner. He'd done nothing wrong. I knew it then. I did it anyway. Silence. Absolute. Amara pulled out a document. Can you identify this? That's the incident report I filed that day. What does it say about Mr. Bennett's behavior? It says he was cooperative, non-threatening, left voluntarily when asked, and yet he was banned from the diner permanently. Yes. On whose authority? Chief Martin's. Amara turned to the judge. Your Honor, I'd like to enter into evidence Exhibit 47A, audio recording obtained from Chief Martin's personal files. She pressed play. Martin's voice, recorded at a staff meeting in 2019. Listen, we keep certain elements out of certain places. Everyone's happy. That's not racism, that's reality. Carol runs a clean establishment. She knows her customers. We back her up, simple. Another voice, younger, uncertain. But Chief, what if the complaint's not legitimate? Martin, irritated. Whose side are you on, Morrison? The courtroom exploded. Judge Howard gavelled again. Martin's lawyer shot to his feet, objecting, but the damage was done. Amara looked at Carol in the back row. Carol's face was ashen. Then Amara looked at Caldwell. He met her eyes. Nodded once. The truth was out, finally. The hearing lasted 4 days. Testimony from 16 complainants, sworn statements from current and former officers, expert analysis on discriminatory policing patterns. In the end, Judge Howard ruled for the plaintiffs. The Millbrook Police Department was placed under federal consent decree. Chief Martin lost his pension. Carol's Diner lost its business license. Amara stood on the courthouse steps afterward, microphones in her face. "Dr. Bennett, do you feel justice was served?" She thought about her father, about the photo on the diner wall, about Caldwell's testimony. "Justice is a process, not a moment," she said carefully. "Today was accountability. Justice will be what happens next. Will you continue investigating Millbrook? The Federal Monitor will handle ongoing oversight. My office is moving to other cases. What about Chief Caldwell? He admitted to violating your father's rights. He also exposed systemic corruption at great personal cost. That matters." She walked away before they could ask more. 2 months later, Amara returned to Millbrook. Not for work. For her father's birthday. She drove past Carol's diner, now shuttered, windows papered over. For sale sign crooked in the yard. She drove to the cemetery. Placed roses on her father's grave. Sat in the grass like always. "We won, Daddy," she said quietly. Not perfectly. But we won. The wind moved through the trees. A bird called. The sun warmed her shoulders. She pulled out her phone, scrolled to a news article from that morning. Millbrook PD hires new diversity director. Chief Caldwell. "We're building something better." She smiled, small, sad, hopeful. Change was slow, but it was happening. Her father would have said that was enough. She stood, touched his headstone, whispered goodbye as she walked back to her car. Her phone rang. "Marcus, you sitting down?" he asked. "What now?" "Savannah, Georgia. Police Department. Anonymous complaint about discriminatory traffic stops." Amara sighed, smiled, got in her car. "Send me the file." The work never ended, but neither did she. Later that night, in her Atlanta apartment, Amara opened her father's old photo album. There he was, young, smiling, standing in front of the diner in 1985. Before everything went wrong, he'd loved that place. Despite everything, despite rejection, despite humiliation, he'd loved it because he believed it could be better. That's what he'd taught her. Not rage, not bitterness, hope. Stubborn, unreasonable, unbreakable hope. She closed the album, looked at her reflection in the dark window. Same cheekbones, same eyes, same quiet that concealed a roar. Tomorrow she'd start the Savannah case. Next month, maybe Birmingham. Next year, who knew? The work was endless, the fights exhausting, the victories incomplete. But every Carol arrested, every Martin exposed, every Caldwell who chose truth over loyalty, that was change, small, incremental, real. Her father had planted seeds. She was harvesting fruit. And one day, maybe not in her lifetime, but one day, someone would walk into a diner and just be served. No questions, no suspicion, no phone calls, just coffee and pie and conversation. That was the dream, that was justice, and she'd spend every day of her life fighting for it. She turned off the lamp, lay down, closed her eyes. In the darkness, she heard her father's voice one more time. "Don't let them see you sweat, baby girl. Don't give them that," she smiled. "I won't, Daddy, I promise. Dignity is not permission to be human. It's the refusal to let anyone deny it."